From the beginning of time, God has always wanted to communicate with his people. And from time to time throughout history, he had those that were chosen to be his spokespersons, the ones that would bring his message to the people, the ones that we call the prophets. And for centuries, their message was pretty much the same. During the time of the writing of the Torah, the time of the Judges, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Samuel, that message was really pretty consistent. If the Jewish people refused to repent of their sin, God would bring an invader. And at the same time, he would deprive the Israelites of victory, so they would end up being oppressed in their own country. Until such time as they actually repented. God would forgive them, he would raise up a new ruler that would have victory, and the land would be restored. We saw that cycle repeated over and over and over again in the early history of the Jewish people. But there came a point in their history where the message of the prophets changed dramatically. It went from a warning of an invader, of a failure to have victory, of oppression in their own land, to almost ultimate destruction. The Jewish people wouldn't just lose their freedom, they would lose their country. It was a warning of dispersion. The prophet Isaiah was one of the first to bring this kind of message to the Jewish people. He was a prophet who chastised the nation of Israel, constantly warning them of the catastrophic consequences if they refused to repent of their sin. Some of the most chilling verses in the entire Bible were spoken by the prophet Isaiah. And yet in Judaism, he's known as the prophet of consolation. Because at bedrock, that really was his message throughout his entire career as a prophet, which, by the way, spanned the reigns of 4 individual kings. But his message was ultimately always about the mercy and the goodness and the forgiveness of God. A message of actual encouragement to the Jewish people. The day will come, Isaiah said, when the enemies of God will meet their ultimate destruction. The day will come when Israel will step into the glorious future that God has for her. He was a disciple, actually, of the prophet Amos, and we're told he was a teacher of Jeremiah and of Ezekiel. And in the Prophet's Hall of Fame, if you will, in Judaism, he's known as being second only to Moses. There is a tradition that at one point the Jewish people cried out to him and said, Isaiah, do you bring a message of consolation only to this generation as we witness the destruction of the temple? And Isaiah answered and said, no, I bring a message of consolation to all the generations of God's people. And we certainly see it in the book of Isaiah from the very beginning. Chapter 1, harsh prophecy. Very, very stinging rebuke of the Jewish people. Chapter 2, immediately we see the consolation. Isaiah looks forward to the end of days, and he says, God will bring his people home. The Jewish people will come back to the land. We know God would bring them back to their nation, but they wouldn't be a nation like every other nation. They would be a holy nation, God's people, a kingdom of priests. And they would be a light, Isaiah will tell us later, a light to all of the nations. And chapter 2 tells us that those nations will encourage one another. Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob. Now, why would those nations want to come up to tiny little Israel? Because they are drawn to that light like moths to a flame. They will come to Jerusalem, his resting place for all generations, and they will learn of him. I think it's interesting that in 1978, Israel had 1 million visitors from around the world. Fast forward 40 years to 2018, Israel had more than 4 million visitors from around the world. That's 14% more than in 2017, and that 42% more than in 2016. And in 2019, they're expecting well over 5 million pilgrims to visit the nation of Israel. They're coming by the millions from all around the world. And they're saying to one another, hey, come on, come with us, come on, let's go up. Let's go up to the mountain of the Lord. Let's go visit Jerusalem. What a time to be alive. What a time to be alive. Because I believe that you and I are chosen by God to have the privilege to see with our own eyes as God begins to fulfill these verses, these very verses, these very words spoken millennia ago by Isaiah, one of the greatest prophets of all time.